Good morning to our listeners here on Long Island. It's a pleasure to welcome you to another episode of Suffolk Matters, where Suffolk County meets Suffolk AME. So this morning, my guest is Dante Morelli. He's the president of the Faculty Association over at Suffolk Community College. Good morning, Dante.
Morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well, all things considered. So,
Yes.
right out of the gate, what is the Faculty Association at Suffolk Community College?
The Faculty Association of Suffolk Community College is a proud union of nearly 2,000 members, and our membership includes classroom faculty, librarians, counselors, professional assistants, specialists, all of which do an array of jobs and serve in a number of capacities at the college. And the biggest chunk of our membership, 75% of our members, consists of adjuncts. That's the part-time members who make great contributions to the college.
Wow. Okay, so, I guess maybe it's probably best just to start off with Suffolk Community College as a concept. So, Suffolk Community College was, born on the idea of, the need for higher education across Suffolk County in a way that was affordable. Everybody knows the routine of you can earn more in life provided you get some higher education. So, those folks entering the workforce out of high school, let's say, over their lifetime, they tend to earn less than those that have the greater level of education because they've got a deeper understanding of the world and an easier, way of integrating with the rest of the educated workforce. And so, I guess Suffolk County got together and figured out a way to get some state funding, to get some county funding, and to get some contribution from the students themselves or their parents, and form this college for the purpose of educating, the constituents in Suffolk County.
Yeah, that's correct, Dan. Suffolk County Community College, we believe, offers an incredible education at an affordable cost. It propels students to, like you were saying, income ladders down in the future that they would not have achieved otherwise without a college degree, and that's according to a lot of research that's out there. They say someone with a bachelor's will earn about $1 million more in their lifetime than someone with just simply a high school diploma. So we're proud to be on the island. We're one of the largest community colleges in the state of New York, 3 campuses, 3 very different campuses as well, offering an array of programs for our students and for the citizens of Suffolk County. And it's not just the traditional college students we serve. We also have adult learners and people coming back for continuing education. So we're proud to have a presence on the island, and we believe that we are one of the best in the state at doing it.
Yeah, that absolutely is the case, and from our union's perspective, now we're the essential services up at Suffolk Community College. We get all
Absolutely.
the nuts and bolts together, but your group is predominantly the educators. And recently, you guys started getting into like some online education as well, which is a huge opportunity now for those people who can't necessarily physically get to one of those campuses.
Yeah, that's correct. The online programs and classes that are offered are beneficial to those students who work 1 or maybe 2 jobs, have a family. They can't be at a classroom at maybe 10 o'clock at night, but they can be online doing work. And that we found that those students have really been able to benefit from online education, and it's something that is potentially can grow at the college, especially as population and demographic changes are continuing to take place in Suffolk County.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal resource, but I look at the flip side also. So if you were to offer a course that's fairly popular and 1,500 people sign up, I mean, how would an educator handle looking at and grading all of those papers and making sure that everyone paying for that course gets that personalized attention they need to actually grow and in a sense, like when you go to for higher education, you're not going there to get a number on a piece of paper. You're going there to learn. You're paying to learn, and so you want that to some extent you want that personalized care. So I mean, how do your members address class size on the online component?
So this is what we are really proud of as educators at Suffolk County Community College. We believe in capping our class sizes. It's contractual, and we do it in the online setting as well as in the face-to-face setting. A lot of community colleges in the state of New York do not have class size in the contract. We believe class sizes, an appropriate class size, and monitoring it is beneficial to students for them to get that individualized attention that they need, to get the mentoring and help and resources where they can be moved to or whatever it may be. But on class size, that's another reason why we think we offer just this incredible opportunity, whether it be online or in the classroom at the college. These students are going to get individualized attention from their professors. The professors are going to know their name. They're not going to be a number. There are some colleges, even on the island, where a student will sit in a lecture hall of 400 or 500 people, and they'll never communicate with the professor. They'll communicate with a graduate assistant. Instead, at Suffolk, whether someone's teaching online or in face-to-face, they're being taught with someone with their terminal degree, typically, either a PhD or perhaps a master's degree in the field, and or has additional job experience that they can bring into the classroom as well for our students. So we're thankful to have that online class size, the face-to-face class size, as a contractual matter that is important to us and important to our students.
Yeah, well, I got to say, that's a very good thing to have for your members. But I got to say, that's a tremendous value for the folks that take these online courses. To know that you're not lost in the shuffle, that somebody didn't just phone in, the results, because, so much information is coming in. I mean, you talk of a class size of 300 people. I mean, how do you effectively do your job? So, that is, I think, absolutely a selling point for, getting involved in Suffolk Community College. When you're making your choice on higher education, knowing that you have that personalized care and attention with people with, as you said, not just degrees in the field, but also experience actually doing the work.
Right. And let me just make something very clear, too. Learning is a very much an individualized, personalized journey and process. So sometimes online classes don't work for some of our students. They just don't. They need the engagement of being in the classroom and with discussion and with a professor interacting. And some online works a little bit better because of their schedule or whatnot, or they're very self-motivated to continue to be on and interact through, a laptop to get the curriculum that they need in order to graduate.
Yeah, that's that's very true. So I think we've all heard at some points in time that some people learn by reading, some people learn by writing things down, other people need to hear or physically see things. But I think there's even greater components. Sometimes something as simple as like the temperature in the classroom. If it's way too cold, you're not paying attention to the course material, or way too warm. Like there's all
Correct.
of these different things, and that's something that you guys as educators have to take into account, and it's something that my members work with you guys on also. When it comes down to some of those physical things that are necessary to create an engaging classroom environment.
Absolutely, and we are always aware of these issues, and as president, I constantly hear a number of these issues. We have a bit of aging infrastructure at the college. I mean, it's infrastructure and buildings that have been used to capacity for years on end, and it's tough to keep up with all the upkeep of 3 campuses, and we build new buildings, so that's more time and attention and resources to these places. But the goal is to create one of the best academic environments possible for our students and the citizens of Suffolk County.
Sure. Yeah. And, it's any infrastructure, as things age, they need to, it's like buying a brand new car and never getting an oil change.
Right.
It will be junk far sooner than it should be. So, maintenance is a very important component. But even maintenance at some points in time, like, you fix things as many times as you possibly can, and now you've got to do something else. It's not always practical or affordable to just start knocking down buildings and building new ones. But in the case of, infrastructure issues that have to be addressed, things time out. You've got electrical, that was installed, say, 40 years ago. Codes were the way they were. Manufacturing specs were the way they were. If those things are failing, they need to be addressed. They need to be updated because you need the system working, and it needs to work properly and in a way that's safe for everybody, students, educators, support staff, everything.
Absolutely. And this is where there may be 3 different unions represented at Suffolk County Community College, but really we're all there for the same mission, and that's our students. And each of the three unions make incredible contributions to the students, and whether it's maintenance or building work to keep the place running and going, it's all hands on deck, and we all make these important contributions.
Absolutely. And I got to say, on behalf of my members, I know for sure there is a sense of pride in what they do, and it's not necessarily what they do on a day-to-day basis, but where they do it and why they're doing it. It really comes down to that altruism, knowing that they're a part of a system that is actually growing and building the economy in Suffolk County by doing exactly what we initially talked about, and providing these education opportunities for a large percentage, or availability for a large percentage of Suffolk County residents to improve their ability to earn. And then, their ability to earn improves their economic situation, allows them to buy goods and services maybe they otherwise couldn't, which then turns into tax revenue, which, it's a huge symbiotic thing. But I think for your members, but I don't want to speak for them, and certainly for mine, the main thing is always about, making this college the best it could possibly be.
Without a doubt, Dan. And I want to focus a moment on your members. You said you didn't want to talk about my members and make assumptions about them. I'm going to talk about yours, because your members are often the first face and or the first voice a student sees or hears when they're on campus or when they make a phone call.
Absolutely.
They are the first ones. They keep the department running. Many of our academic departments running. They know where things are. They know where students, where they need to be, or who they need to speak to. They often make phone calls and stuff on behalf of our students to direct them to the right office. There's a saying in higher ed that, if you don't know something, you ask your professor. If the professor doesn't know, you ask your department chair. If the department chair doesn't know, you ask the dean. If the dean doesn't know, then you ask the secretary, because the secretary speaks to God.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's really been the case here. And these are our colleagues and our friends, and many of us socialize together outside of work hours, and we know each other's families very well. So we work hand in hand with a lot of the AME employees on a day-to-day basis, and they really do keep the college running, each of the three campuses.
Absolutely. And that brings me to a point, now getting back to my members, when you talk about them being the face of the college, that first interaction, it's always it's always important, in any organization, when you have that outward-facing component, that public-facing component, to make sure that you've got the very best of the best, representing and being that emissary for the organization. Right. And, one of my concerns, and one of the things that I've been talking with, leadership at the college, and that being, some exempt employees that are over there, top level management that don't fit into any of our unions. Right. And I discuss with them, if the face of your organization is not right, your organization's not going to look good. And one of the things you definitely don't want to do is pay, Walmart / fast food wages to the people that are, your emissaries to the world. Right. That's something that, we've been fighting against for quite some time, and, New York State just changed the minimum wage law, and, a bunch of those folks that you're talking about, that name, those names and faces that are the first line, they just got a raise simply because the state said it's illegal to pay human beings this little for work. And Absolutely. That's, and that's a problem, but that's a problem that needs to be worked on globally, and together. That's a partnership problem. That isn't a, flipping cars and burning garbage pails and all of that, like the typical, what you would think of back in, say, the 70s and 60s, union style. That's something that really takes some smart people sitting down and figuring out financially, how can we make this thing work?
Right. And in addition to that, Dan, it's not just simply salaries and wages. It's being asked to do more with less help than you had even 5 or 7 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
As positions haven't been replaced. So it's a very important point. And your members, our members, we live in one of the most expensive counties in the country.
Sure.
And, but many of our members grew up on the island and grew up in Suffolk County and want to stay and want to make a living and earn a fair, decent wage in order to try to live in a place that's quite difficult to live financially. And we've seen the repercussions of that, right, with people fleeing and whatnot. So this is not just simply about labor. It's an economic issue. It's a sociological issue, right? It's a micro as well as a macro issue in Suffolk County, where we really need to make sure that we're paying employees fair wages.
Absolutely. And this is higher education, and like we initially talked about and touched on again just a few moments ago, the idea of higher education is to gainfully employ people and offer them opportunities they otherwise wouldn't get. And there is some irony to this institution that's there to grow our economy and grow opportunities for our community, employing people at such low wages, cutting back the work that's being done. And let's be fair, let's lump you into the whole problem here. You say about 75% of your class educators, they're adjuncts, and adjuncts, right. On one hand, you've got some great people that are very engaged in their work and they just want to give something back. But on an administrative level, when we talk about those people that are, maybe in the exempt position, I think they really like the concept of adjuncts. Educators in higher learning, educators are protected. You get your tenure, you stay in, and you get to communicate the thoughts and ideas that are necessary without fear of repercussion. I don't know if you feel the same way. If you feel like the adjuncts kind of have that same protection.
Yeah. So our adjuncts, first of all, they make incredible contributions, and our adjuncts come in kind of three categories. There's the adjunct who's worked full time at the college and then they retire, so this person has a pension and then the health care. And then the second group is the group where someone who works a full time job, perhaps in K through 12 or somewhere else. And then that third group is that perpetual sort of traditional adjunct that you've heard throughout the United States, the person who has 3-4 different colleges or universities where they work, teaching multiple sections. Some adjuncts have taught 10, 12 sections a semester.
Wow. All
over the island in order to make ends meet. And, the college, I don't want to, one bigger issue that the college has had to face is the fact that there's been a continuous disinvestment in higher education, not just in New York, but across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, state legislatures and other, local sponsors have not made the contributions that they need. And the law was set up that community colleges, a third will come from the state, a third from the county, and a third from the student tuition. Now, instead of it being a third, it's 50% of the pie that students are paying.
Right.
And the county and the state are giving each 25%. And so adjunct labor, when it's dollars and cents, it's less expensive at the end of the day. And, the research out there in higher education journals suggests and states that full-time faculty members are what works and what's really good for our students. Students are mentored, they're retained, they tend to finish and transfer, and our adjuncts really can't stay and do that, and nor do we expect them to, right? Because it's unfair to say, hey, here you are, you're being paid a wage just to teach a 3-credit class, asking them to stay a couple hours extra a week, and some of them do. Some of them really help
right.
our students out in tremendous ways.
Yes.
But many aren't able to because they have to go and teach at Farmingdale and then at Nassau and then go to Stony Brook or Old Westbury. And they're stringing together a full-time job on, under many part-time models, so to speak.
Right.
And so it's frustrating to see that.
And the job security not being there, and what you want, even when we were talking about like the online model, knowing that you have set class sizes so that time and attention went into the students, it's got to be a lot more difficult for those adjuncts to kind of focus themselves in that way when they have all these varying responsibilities across multiple learning institutions. It's got to be very frustrating, for them. And, I absolutely believe that they're motivated to do an awesome job at every single sector that they're in. but it puts a lot of undue pressure on them too. Not knowing that they have the job the next semester, not
Right.
knowing if enough of those jobs can be strung together to live on the island and stay on the island. So that's and I think nationally I hear about it a lot. The adjunct model, although being great maybe for administrators for bottom line purposes, it doesn't really work for the educators and it doesn't really work for the students. Not as well as it should.
Without a doubt, and this is where we, as the faculty association, we really need to start educating our members and the community at large about why full-time faculty are important and what they do contribute. And we're also proud to say that we've built some protections and items in our contract for adjuncts. Any adjunct who applies who is qualified for a position will be guaranteed an interview. We're proud of that. That gives them an opportunity. I've sat on a few search committees myself where we hired former adjuncts who are now full-time members. So,
awesome.
But it's still not enough. We need we need more of those lines so that way we can continue to engage our students.
Absolutely.
And the administration agrees. They know very well that this is important as well.
Sure.
And hopefully they'll start making a push to really offer more of those full-time faculty lines.
Yeah, and again, I don't mean to, when I reference the administration, I'm not always talking about Suffolk Community College and the administration. It's the way administrations work in higher education and also, in government. Administrations have, certain pressures on them and certain things that they focus on, and it allows them to prioritize the things that they need to. And those of us on the labor side, representing people who are doing the actual work, obviously we have a difference, and I kind of make the analogy of it's two sides to the same coin, both
Right.
the administration at Suffolk Community College and the workers at Suffolk Community College, whether it be my members, your members, or on the guild side, we all of those groups together, they all want the college to work. But
Without a doubt.
the administration, they focus on the work, quote unquote, and work product, and on the union side, on the labor side, we focus on the individuals doing the work. But everybody has that same mission. It's just a question of priorities.
Right. And, I mentioned the disinvestment of higher education across the country. In some states, it's way worse.
Oh yeah.
Where they've been almost they've been underfunded consistently for a number of years. Let me put it to you this way. So the micro issue is us at Suffolk County, right, as labor leaders and activists.
Right.
But in higher education at a more macro level, think about this. I was watching the SEC championship and the Big Ten championship, and at halftime, college kids throw footballs into a Dr. Pepper bucket to win $100,000 of student tuition. And they film the whole thing, and it comes in live to your home. And I sit there and I say, this is the most disingenuous thing to young people.
Yep.
Hey, student tuition is so high, you're going to graduate with an average of $40,000 in student loan debt. But hey, enroll in a contest so you can throw footballs into a bucket.
Right.
I mean, this is how we treat higher education in the United States these days.
Yeah. It reminds me of those dance-offs, back in the day where people would dance for 24 hours straight in the hopes of making some money so they could, and people would tune in to, it's basically human suffering. It's so sad to see that we have to do things like this when in fact we could all sit down. Again, it's higher education. Some of the brightest minds, all working together, we could sit down and try and solve this problem.
Right. And higher education makes people obviously better, and we talked about it earlier in the interview here, where people are going to make more money throughout, and that's not the only reason why people should go to college.
No. Yeah.
People gain a global perspective. They learn to critically think. I mean, that's all incredibly important.
Yeah.
But in the long-term result of someone having an education, a higher education, the economic impact is tremendous. And now we have these, like the balls into buckets and dance-offs. I mean, it's
Right.
like, the Hunger Games is not fiction. It's actually a reality.
Yeah, and you wonder why that message resonates so much with the younger generation, because that's what they're facing. And to some of them, the idea of a pension, a retirement, all of that stuff is just a laughable concept. They don't believe that they're ever going to get it, and that's just some joke that's been made up because we're not providing that same opportunity to our young people that we used to.
Absolutely. And the one of the greatest things that came out recently about young people, millennials, is they have the highest highest level of support for unions out of any of the other age groups, the other generations. That's tremendous. It's like 66% of millennials support unions. That's amazing, and that's an opportunity for us, Dan. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, we've known, because we're engaged in this lifestyle, higher education, like labor unions, is the path to the middle class. So, right. In the environment of Suffolk Community College, between the labor unions and the higher education component, and I am not surprised at all to know that the younger generation is looking at these things exactly in that way, because otherwise they're faced with, I hope I can throw a football well enough to get it into a bucket. That's their only other opportunity.
Exactly.
So, well, speaking of, opportunities and I guess maybe education that goes beyond the learning institution, you guys get into a lot of community engagement, inside the faculty. You guys are part of NICET, which is a much larger organization. Yeah,
NICET is a 600,000 members strong union. That's our state affiliate, and we have a presence there along with UUP, who represents the workers of SUNY, and the union PSC, which represents the great faculty and workers of CUNY. So we're part of that organization. Social justice and community outreach has been a priority for NICET. It's become an important priority in our local union as well.
Right.
We have a number of programs. We do the Making Strides every year against breast cancer. We have Professors on Wheels, which is a really cool program where our professors are going out into the community to do little workshops and things for some of the residents who live in these assisted living facilities. We're trying to expand that into other community organizations, which is great for us because people in the community are seeing our professors and the intellect and work that they do and that they've studied and researched. So that's been really exciting. We have a social justice committee that was formed this year where we're really going to take on another big project. We don't know what it is yet, but the committee is meeting, and we're looking forward to rolling that out.
The big problem there is there are so many social justice issues to take on. It's probably not going to come down to what we can do. It's, where can we be most effective, because there's so many areas that need to be addressed.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are trying to do, is hone in on a project or some things that matter either to our members and or our students. And when you get on board with something like that, the number one rule, I teach communication. That's what I teach
right
at the college. And the number one rule in communication is know your audience.
Right.
So when it comes to social justice issues, what are the social justice issues that matter to our members, that matter to our students? And I think, when we find something that really works, that's where we can capitalize and really be engaged with the community and hopefully get community members on board, in addition to our elected officials as well.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that you guys will be successful with that. You guys have joined with us when we do our May Day event, which is just this, large format festival, 1 day large format festival, national acts, local acts, food, drinks, everything. We put together this whole, this concept of, this is for all working people. We don't care, labor union, not labor union. If you have a job, come on down. We don't do it for profit. This isn't like $150 to come down. This is, under $50. All of our proceeds split up into 4 different charities. And you guys were sponsors right out of the gate, and just getting involved and making sure the community understood, who you guys were and what you guys were about as well.
Yes, and Dan, I want to congratulate you on that. That was a phenomenal day. We couldn't ask for better weather,
Yeah,
and there are so many community members out there, and they would, so that is an important community and member engagement opportunity for your union. So please continue to do that. It's
absolutely.
important.
Yeah, and the idea was simply because we knew, one, we obviously we believe in unions, we believe in the path to the middle class, and involvement. Groups like yours, what was great is, professors on wheels. You knew social justice, you could have booths set up so that in between all of the fun and everything else, people could stop by and figure out more ways that they could be involved in their community. So I want to thank you for, your whole group for getting it right out of the gate and wanting to be involved.
Yes, thank you. And we believe this is important, and we need to do more of this, to let people know that we're not just a union that negotiates the contract on behalf of our members. We are a union that is active 365 days of the year, and not just for members, but for our community as well.
Absolutely. So, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank you for standing in solidarity, not just with us, but with all of labor and with the community. Again, getting involved and making sure that, in time that's not spent in the classroom, it's then spent getting back into the community. And, that's that rising tide that raises all boats.
Absolutely. And Dan, I want to say that the Faculty Association stands proudly and strongly with you in solidarity, and the workers of Suffolk Community College and our AME people who do a tremendous job. We stand in solidarity in hopes that you will have a fair contract soon, my friend.
Absolutely, Dante. I appreciate everything that you do. For our listeners, we'll see you next week.